Hello guys, welcome back. Now in this session we are going to set up authentication mechanism between AWS provider and Terraform. As in this journey we are going to use AWS throughout to learn about Terraform. So we must have a mechanism by which Terraform aware about how to access AWS provider. So let's look into the agenda, what topics we are going to cover in this session. So in this session we are going to cover this thing. So to set up the authentication mechanism we need to perform 4 steps. At the step 1 we need to create a user called tfadmin in AWS, and while creating we need to provide the programmatic access to this tfadmin user. Once we're done with that, then we need to install a AWS CLI within our system. Once it is being done, then we need to configure the tfadmin which we have created, that we need to configure within the AWS CLI. One thing I would like to tell it over here, there are various mechanisms by which you can do the authentication within Terraform for AWS. So let's have a look what are those. So this is the documentation and over here you will find that for authentication we have 5 methods over here. The first one is the static credentials, second one is the environment variable, third one is shared credential and configuration file. That is what we are doing. Then the code build, ECS and EKS. And over here EC2 instance metadata service. So all those details given over here, you can choose any one of them. So over here with the help of environment variable, we need to set up environment variable and we need to export those variables. One thing I would like to tell you that the static credential is not the safest option, and here the warning is also saying the same thing if we are using the static credential. Now there is another method, that is code build, ECS and EKS role. If you are running the Terraform on ECS or EKS, then on that time you have to use this authentication mechanism. In our case we are not using it, we are running our Terraform environment in our local machine, so we are not going to use this one. Environment variable authentication mechanism I will show you in one of the later session. Now the last mechanism, this authentication mechanism used if you run in Terraform from an EC2 instance with IAM instance profile using IAM role. Terraform will just ask the metadata API endpoint for credential. So guys, let's proceed further and set up the configuration file mechanism for authentication between Terraform and AWS. So the step 1 is we need to log into the AWS console and we need to create an user. So guys, we are into the AWS console and over here you need to search over here for IAM service, IAM. You need to click over here and this will take you to the IAM console. Now next we need to click on users. Over here we need to add an user called tfadmin. So let's write it tfadmin, and over here we need to specify the programmatic access. So I'm going to tell that I want to give programmatic access so that we can programmatically access the AWS console from Terraform. Now next, permissions, we need to specify the permission, and over here we need to specify a policy directly, and over here once you select this one, then you will get an option of administrator access. You need to select this one, and next you need to click on next tags, and over here you need to specify that role Terraform admin. Next, once it is being done, you need to review that, and next you need to click on create user. So guys, we are done with the first and the second step. Now next we need to install AWS CLI in our system. So guys, to install the CLI you need to visit this site. I have already given into the resource section. You can take from the resource section the address of this site. So once you visit this site, then you will get the instruction to install the AWS CLI version 2. For each of the respective operating system, it has given the instruction. You have to follow those instructions. For example, this instruction for Linux. So you can follow those instructions to install the AWS CLI. For Mac OS, you have to follow the Mac OS installation step for installing AWS CLI version 2. I'm going to install for Windows, and over here I need to download this MSI file. So just click on this, and the moment you click, it will ask you to save the file. Once you click on the save file, then it will download it, and over here you will find that it is giving us this file MSI. So you need to click on this, click on OK, and then it will start the installation. So currently it is preparing to install. Now we got this wizard. We need to follow this wizard. We need to click on next. We need to select this one, I accept, next, and over here now you need to click on next, and then you need to press this install button. As I have already installed it, so I am not going to press it. So you have to click on install, so it will be installed, and once the installation is being finished, then you need to click on finish button. Now next we need to run the command prompt, or in Linux you need to run the bash. So now I am into the command prompt. So to verify whether our installation has been done or not, we need to write this command aws version, enter. Then you will get the information about AWS CLI. So over here we are having AWS-CLI 2.0.45, and that is based on Python 3.7.7, and that is on Windows 10. So guys, we are done with the step 3. Now in step 4 we will configure it. So how we will configure our TF admin user which we have created. I have written 2 times user over here, sorry for that. So how we can configure it, let's look into that. So you need to come to the command prompt, and over here you need to specify AWS configure, enter. So guys, it is asking for AWS access key ID. So where do we get this? Let's look into that. So if you remember, we have created TF admin, and over here at the end of the process it is giving us access key ID. So we need to take this key ID and we need to do Control C, and then we need to put it into there. So over here I will paste it, enter. Next it is asking for AWS secret access key. So where we will get it? So guys, you will get the secret access key from here. You need to click on show and copy this one, and now we will go back to the command prompt and put it there. So over here we will paste it and shift enter and enter. Now it is asking for default region. So it is going to be the same. I am going to use the same, so just enter. Now it is asking for output format. I am going to tell that I am going to use JSON format, that is default, so enter only. So now we are configured our AWS authentication for our system. So guys, with this step we have created a credential file for AWS. So if you remember the documentation I have showed you in this session, so over here you will find that it is telling the same thing. With that step, basically it is creating the aws.aws folder and a file within that credentials, and within that the entire information is being kept. And whenever we do a execution of Terraform program, then on that time the first step it will go, our program will go and check the credentials for authentication in this location. For Linux and Mac OS it will go to this location, and for Windows it will check at this location. So let's check it there whether it exists or not. So let's open the location. I will call the run window R, and over here this is the location of my user profile. So I need to click on OK, and over here you will see that we have .aws folder, and within that we have credential information. If you click on that and if you will check that, edit with notepad, then you will see that the information which we have provided into the command prompt that sits into this file. So if you want to change the information, then you can generate the user again and you can change it over here. So now we have done with the setup, and this is what I wanted to demonstrate you in this session. So now let's summarize it, what we have done. So in this session we have done the setup for the authentication mechanism between Terraform and AWS for our further labs. So in this session we have seen that how to create TF admin within the AWS console. Then we have also looked into how we have provided the programmatic access. Then we have also looked into how to install CLI within our system. And at last we have seen the configuration for the AWS CLI and where the file of AWS credential is sitting. Now from the next session onward, we are going to start writing the code for Terraform. So in this aspect, in the next session, we will write our first Terraform program and we will create something meaningful with the help of Terraform code. So on this note, I am stopping over here. See you in the next session. Till then, bye bye. Take care.